Good afternoon, everybody. I see that I've got a bit of a technical challenge here at the moment. It seems like it is now going okay. So, welcome here. Thank you very much that you have joined. I just want to see quickly if everything is hunky dory here. Seems like it. I'm okay. It is recording as well. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you very much for joining. We are going to be speaking about clause 7.4. Communication, and this is in terms of the high-level structure of the ISO systems, and this is all certified systems that is actually working precisely exactly the same. It is in most cases it is only clause 8 that is actually changing. Um, in some cases, I think clause 6 as well, but most of it is everything. This is why it is the high-level structure, or called the high-level structure, and the high-level structure is actually set that everybody can actually use it. So very nice. So we will be talking about 7.4, and 7.4 is communications. So communications is so the agenda for today is firstly, who is Crest Advisory Africa and what is our offerings, understanding the high-level structure of clause 7.4, then a practical implementation model for clause 7.4, questions, and then contact us. So first and foremost, if we're looking at Crest Advisory Africa, we are a company that has been established in 2014. So we are at the moment 12 years old, going for 13, and growing. So Crest Advisory Africa is contracted with 3 certification bodies, namely the PECB for people certification in terms of ISO 17024, and then the MSECB and DQS in terms of 17021-1. Um, Sorry, as I said, it seems like there's a bit of a delay here on my side. Then our offerings, we are conducting training, advisory services, leadership development, auditing services internally, as well as our Islytics GRC software. And then we are also conducting international ISO certification audits. Now, all the standards that is there on the screen, we are certified in about 21, 22 of them. And the certification ones that you are seeing there, that is about 12 or so. So everything that we are doing training in, we are also implementing. We are auditing, not on our own work. And then we are doing international certifications where we are appointed by the MSECB or DQS. So our GRC software, this is our ecosystem. We've got 14, 15 modules in our ecosystem. So everything works integratedly. It is different modules on its own, like incident management, enterprise risk management, audit management, business continuity, etc. But it is built on the same platform, on the same ecosystem, so everything works integratedly. So let's start with 7.4, a practical focus on 7.4, communication. So communication, if you're looking at clause 7 is all about the support structures that has been given to any international standards organization implementation, everything. So whether it is your resources, your competence, 2 weeks ago, we spoke about awareness. This week, we are speaking about communication. And 2 weeks further, we are speaking about all the documentation. So this is the support system for your management system. So why is it important? So this is where ISO stops assuming and starts controlling. So this clause, if we're looking at clause 7.3, focuses on what people understand. In 7.4, communication focuses on something even more dangerous when left unmanaged. Who needs what information, when, how, and from whom? Very important question, that one, because this is also, if you're looking at your document classifications, it is in the same kind of way there, because it is either public documents or it can go up to top secret documents. And then clause 7.4 exists because controlled communication create uncontrolled communication create risk. Now, that is absolutely what we're talking about. Now, I've got a slide as well that I will show you a bit later that is actually looking at the competence framework and the ecosystem that is actually working there. So what is the risks? Firstly, wrong information. Wrong information, if the wrong information is communicated, whether that has to do with internal communication, external communication, or legal requirements, if the wrong information is out there, you are going to be in trouble. You are at risk as a company. Late information, yes, late information. We are always looking at proactive communication. So any delays reduce the effectiveness and increases your exposure. So if the tax laws has changed last month and it is supposed to be implemented on the 1st of August, and we are already on the 6th of August and you haven't done anything, you are at risk. Inconsistent messages, different messages from different people in the organization, that creates confusion, mixed signals and loss of credibility. And eventually, nobody is going to listen to anybody, and that information is not going to go through. Regulatory exposure, penalties. You can lose your license. So non-compliance, fines, penalties, and legal consequences. And then reputational damage. You as a company are losing face. You are losing your integrity, your reputation. So loss of trust, brand harm, and stakeholder impact. So ISO therefore treats communication as a planned, governed activity, not an ad hoc one. It is not something that you are doing ad hocly. No, it needs to be structured, organized, and it needs to be official. So the competence framework that I just spoke about. Firstly, if we're looking at competence of people that is working in the organization, we are looking here at knowledge, skills, and behavior. And then the outer circle there is the external context, the internal context, and then your legal context. Now, all of those make you a competent performer. All those make that you as the employee, the manager, the executive, the CEO, if you understand that, you understand a lot. And very important, if you're looking at that, the legal context on the right-hand side bottom, that is specifically what I was talking about here on the regulatory exposure. Because that legal context, if you don't do that correctly, you are going to get penalties. It's a given. You are going to be given directives to stop your business, or something is going to happen there. So make sure that your internal communication and your external communication is extremely well organized. So what is required in plain language? So clause 7.4 requires the organization to determine and implement what needs to be communicated. You need to determine, especially on all of these things, on everything that is within the organization, with changes in the organization, changes in legislation, changes in regulations, all those kind of things need to be communicated. So what needs to be communicated? That is super important, that you are defining what you need to be communicating to everybody, to a certain audience, to a specific level of people. You need to determine what is that and when to communicate. Decide the timing and the frequency of that kind of communication. With whom? Identify the internal and external audiences. Those audiences need to be listed, and those audiences need to be incorporated in your strategy of understanding when do we communicate what, and then how. What is the media and the method that you are using and the channels that you are using in communication. Is it emails? Is it bulk emails? Is it WhatsApps? Is it on your website? Is it what kind of, is it on pamphlets? Is it on notice boards? Is it infographics? What kind of communication and what method are you using there? And who communicates that? Is it anybody in the organization? You are going to create chaos. If there's not a dedicated and authorized person to be communicating that, you are going to create chaos. So assign responsibility and authority. So in short, the right message, the right audience, the right time, the right channel, and the right authority. Just remember, your audience are making use of certain channels, and you need to determine that. You need to understand that those people are working on Facebook or LinkedIn, or doesn't matter what. What kind of groups do you have there that you can actually address that? So internal versus external communication. So clear communication, strong relationships, and a compliant and effective management system focuses firstly on internal communication. So internal communication, policy updates, objectives, and performance. Every year, companies has got strategic breakaways, and they are looking at their objectives and their strategies, and they are evaluating that in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And then the outcome of that work, if you are a big company that is having 10,000 people or something, if that is not going through to your people don't know what you have discussed on that game farm or at the sea or in Dubai or anywhere. They don't know what you have discussed, and they don't know what is the outcomes and what is the requirements of it. So if you are giving a watered down outcome of the big investment that was made there, you are losing the plot as leadership. Changes is in clause 6.3, always. So what is the changes in your objectives and in personnel, etc., risks and incidents, and then responsibilities and expectations. External communication focuses on clients and customers, regulators, suppliers and partners, certification bodies, public and the media. And the question is always, how do we communicate that? In what method? What is our message that we are sending out? Because I can guarantee you, if you are sending out a wrong message to a regulator, my friends, the regulator is going to give you a directive, or the certification body, they are going to give you a directive to say, you have got 10 days or 48 hours or 72 hours to be doing X, Y, and Z. I want to give you there an example. I was with the Gautrain in South Africa, and one Friday afternoon, we were sitting with the tunnel that was leaking. That was actually, that was leaking water close to between Rosebank and Park Station, and the regulator came out, and they wanted to do a simple site visit at one of the emergency shafts close to Park Station. They went there with a health and safety person, and when they got down into the shaft with the fireman's lift, that is always supposed to be working, they saw that wow, the water are flowing there, and the pumps are working there. They're pumping off. Really, it was busy there, and everything that was actually affected by the water. One of the things there was the lift. And when they wanted to get out of this whole tunnel visit, they couldn't get out because of corrosion. We had to arrange for people to actually go and get them out. And what happened? Before 4 o'clock that afternoon, we got a directive from the regulators that we've got the weekend to correct things. We must give them from maintenance a plan. We must give them from from this plan and from health and safety and all these plans. We must have our contractors to come in and do certain work there. And we need to drive that process. That made that this is not only an operational, this is not only a maintenance thing. This had then had to go over into operations now as well. Because if they don't accept it on Monday morning at 8 o'clock, if they don't accept what we have done, they stop our system, everything that is in the tunnel. And that was 4 or 5 stations. A lot of work. And a lot of people using our system there. As well as we needed to get our buses to transport people then from Sandton to Park Station. That was an impossible task, but we had to do both things. We had to prepare for the unknown, and we had to correct what was actually going wrong there. And if you followed the news in South Africa, you would have seen that there was a lot of work that was done in the tunnels where there's water leaks. So suppliers and partners, certification bodies, etc. One of my customers, the certification body, there was bad press, and the certification body that they were certified with gave them when they read this thing on the website and on the news, they gave them 30 days to correct everything and give the certification body assurances that the quality management system is still functioning correctly. So that there is a lot of things and a lot of information that you need to communicate and make sure that people understand it. So the inputs to clause 7.4, and especially if you are looking at auditing traceability, clause 4.2. Clause 4.2 has already got the stakeholder expectations. And those expectations is just what I spoke about on the previous slide. 5.1 is leadership messaging. What is your messages as leadership? 5.2, your policy communication. 6.1, your risk-related communication. 6.3, change communication. 7.3, awareness reinforcement. Clause 8, operational instructions. How do you do what you need to do there? Then 9 is performance reporting, and clause 10 is incident and corrective action communication. All of these is not a linear line, really. It is a circular. You need to make sure everything that you have got from there all over is going round and round, and where you've got gaps, you need to make sure that you are addressing those gaps. And communication, if communication is not aligned to these, auditors will probe. Yes, what is a probe? A probe is, I will scratch further. I want to ask more. I want to have more evidence. Tell me more. What did you do about it? If you didn't do anything about it, thank you very much. Goodbye. And there's a non-conformance then for you. But this is how this is interrelated. So the practical example here is what has happened. What is happening if there was an incident? What is the incident itself? When was it? And let me tell you, this one tells us here within 24 hours. In some cases, it is immediate, within 1 hour, within 2 hours. 24 hours is a whole day gone. Whole day gone. So make sure that if you are writing these instructions, that you've got a process of understanding what are we meaning there? What is the time frames that we are actually setting out there? And make sure that people understand it. Because if some person is reading that, yes, there was a house robbery or something, and we can only report, we have to report it within 24 hours. My goodness, you are going to be surprised. You are going to be surprised because the press is going to be there before you. The social media is going to be there before you. Everybody is taking pictures and everybody is posting it on Facebook, on everything. So then you are sitting on the bad side of it. With whom? Who do you communicate with? Management, the regulator, the client. How? Secure email incident management system. How do you do that? And then who is the information security officer? And auditors look for clarity and consistency, not bureaucracy. We want to make sure that your systems are working. I am really not there to go into your system or your procedure that I'm seeing now, and your company is 10 years old and you've been working with this. And I don't want to go and quibble about wording, etc. I want to have clear understanding to say what was supposed to be reported, when, with whom, and how, and who did what there. The communication plan. And this is something that people are saying that we don't have to have it. Yes, you don't have to have it. There's no compulsory thing that you need to have it. But it's a silent expectation. So ISO does not explicitly demand a communication plan, but auditors love them because they demonstrate the following: a structured thinking, role clarity, risk control, evidence of implementation. And guys, I can tell you this with a clear conscience. If people don't have a communication plan and you ask them this question, explain to me, how do you communicate? They are starting to waffle and they are starting to talk a lot, but they say nothing. Really. They don't give you evidence. They are just starting to be talking like a showmaster. They cannot comprehend structured thinking. They cannot explain role clarity. They cannot define the risk controls. They cannot provide you evidence of implementation. They are just talking. And the moment that people are starting to talk, and they talk a lot, and they haven't got all of these things, oi, 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 to stop them from talking and to get back to structured thinking, role clarity, is eventually, it is a process just to get them back again to talk about this. So instead of letting somebody that is a big talker talk a lot and having no evidence, create for yourself a communication plan. Just like in clause 4.4, there's no structured instruction from ISO that you need to have a manual. But how are you going to explain, how do you implement the management system? Exactly the same. So if you've got this interlinking documentation, and we will speak about documentation in 2 weeks' time, then you know, my friends, that you are in a good space, and that people that is actually presenting this has got structure, has got understanding, has got evidence. So the communication plan need to also have a communication matrix, and this cannot be explained, really. If you don't show it, a person that is sitting on the other side of the auditor, they cannot explain it like a simple matrix, like this matrix. They cannot explain it. Really, people are, if they want to be talking about these things, they don't have structure. So make sure that you've got there a topic. What is communicated? Who's your audience? What do you do there? What is your channel that you are using? What is the frequency that you are doing this? And who's the owner? Who's responsible for this? Super important. I've got I just want to see that I can possibly open this quickly. If you've got Xmind, Xmind is a super fantastic mind mapping system. I'm going to open it here, and I think it is going to open, and then I will structure for you, or I will show you the communication plan that we did for the for one of the big universities in South Africa. So This is what we're talking about. Who's the owner? What's the frequency, the channel, the audience, and the topic? What do you need to address, and why do you need to address that? So the authority to communicate, super important. Who can speak to whom? Who can speak to the media? Who can post a message on Facebook from your company? Who can do these things? So clause 7.4 implicitly requires control over who communicates externally. Is it the CEO? Is it the communications person? Is it the official communications person? Is it the PR company? Who is going to be doing that? So firstly, you need to have a defined spokesperson. Who is going to be talking to the clients too? And for each of these clients, and this is also back again, as I said, to clause 4.2, this is stakeholders as well as interested parties. Who is speaking to the regulators? I can guarantee you it is usually the CEO or the compliance person, or the CEO and the regulator is possibly the health and safety environment, and then the health and safety person is leading that. So you need to have a register or an organogram that is actually showing who is going to be talking to those people specifically, who understands those people, who is speaking the language. And I'm not speaking about language, English and Zulu and French and Portuguese. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the technical language that is acceptable in that regulatory environment. Certification bodies. You don't want to have anybody to be speaking to a certification body that is not speaking correctly out of the standard. If they cannot address the things in the standard, keep them away from a certification body, please, or an auditor on behalf of a certification body, because everything that you are saying is evidence. Then the second point there, controlled regulatory communication. Absolutely. Just remember, the regulators has got the license to take, has got the authority to take your operating license away. And if you're giving them wrong information that is not accurate, consistent, and approved, my friends, you are going to be struggling to build trust with a regulator. And then clear escalation paths. Not everything has to go to the CEO, really. Not everything. But this is why there are structures within a company, a hierarchy that is actually saying that, okay, you have communicated to me. I need to determine, is this serious enough that we can contain it? Or do I need to communicate it to somebody else? Or somebody else? Or somebody else? Within the Gautrain environment, the communication was not with Bombela Operating Company. It was with Bombela Concession Company. So anything that you are saying to the media outlets or putting it on social media, Bombela Operating Company has got no authority there. Everything had to be communicated with Bombela Concession, the concessionaire. And the concessionaire decides what goes out and how is it presented to the audiences. That we are looking in control, that we are controlling the information, and nobody is going past that. So uncontrolled external communication is a major governance risk. Reputational damage is going to happen, definitely. Regulatory penalties. You are going to pay penalties. Financial impact. That penalties is already for you a financial impact. And loss of trust. Communications and awareness. Just remember there's a difference between these two. And communication is in this clause 7.4, and awareness we have addressed in 7.3. So communication has to do with, did we tell anybody? So focus on delivering the right information to the right people. Who did you tell? And awareness is understanding and behavior. So do you know? The focus on building understanding, knowledge, and the right behavior. Just remember awareness. If you want to have a simple distinction between communication and awareness. Awareness must change people's habits. That's the simple line. And the question is, for me as an auditor, you have sent out this awareness campaign. Okay, show me the evidence. What was the habit before that? And how did you change that habit? That is awareness. Communication is about external communication, internal communication, legal and regulatory communication, and who needs to be doing that. So awareness is about understanding behavior, individual, and do you know. Communication is about information flow, messaging, organizational, and did we tell the people what to do? So both are required and neither replaces the other. Just remember back again to awareness, you need to be explaining there what habit did you change. Is it a financial habit in the workplace? Is it coming under the influence of liquor in the workplace? Many of my companies at the mines has got self-testing procedures before people come on duty. And those stations are stationed all over the environment. And you must see on Monday mornings, people are queuing there. Because if they are going through the system and they log in and somebody is testing them after the system, they can be fired. So these guys know that they have abused or used liquor over the whole weekend. Monday morning, people are queuing there, really. They are standing there and I can go through. Yes, I'm okay. So awareness is about changing a habit. Evidence auditors except for clause 7.4. So we are accepting proof of control. I don't want to have volumes. Volumes is such a waste. Give me a spreadsheet. Give me your analysis on the spreadsheet. Show me evidence on the email. Show me evidence on your bulk email system. Show me evidence of something. Give me dashboards. Give me those kind of things. I don't want to have 2 folders and 2 files, 2 LeverArch files full of, or 3 of them full of communication, but you don't know what is the outcome there. No, give me a communication plan. Give me the emails and notices that you have sent out. Give me the meeting minutes. Give me the induction, everything there, from the attendance to the test that people are writing, the reports that you've got there on performance, risk, compliance, and reporting. Give me dashboards. Help people. Nowadays, nobody can actually say that I cannot have dashboards. Really. You've got Power BI. There's Excel is so strong nowadays that you cannot tell me that if you've got data that you don't have dashboards. Really. And live real-time dashboards is actually better than as well. Regulatory correspondence, website statements. And if you're looking at the websites, these websites nowadays are strong. You've got comments there, you've got clicks, you've got click-throughs, you've got all these fantastic things that you need to be looking at. But you need to give me that evidence. I can only ask, give me your reports. Show me your dashboards. And this is what we are asking. And then people are thinking, oh my goodness, this is a strict auditor. No, it's not. It is just, we are asking evidence. So common audit findings from clause 7.4. Firstly, the common findings is no structured communication approach. Just ad hoc. We will communicate when we communicate. Inconsistent messages. No clarity on who communicates externally. Anybody can speak. Staff is unaware of changes. That is happening so much. I can see that every time that I'm going to clients for a certification audit or surveillance audit or something, you can see the attendance registers or the Teams meetings. The date wasn't every month or every week or every 2 months or something. No. It was a week before the audit. Just a week before the audit. Then my question is really, are you communicating so little with your internal personnel, with your own people that is making your business drive, that is making money for you? Are you keeping so much information away from your people? And that's coming back again to this one here, communication and awareness. You are keeping people in the dark. They are not mushrooms. So what auditors want to see is defined communication responsibilities, planned internal and external communication, evidence of execution, controlled external messaging, and then alignment with risks and changes. And super important, this last one here. Are you, just remember, risk, the definition of risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. So if you are not driving your objectives, your company's objectives, or your department's objectives, and you are speaking to your risks, why do you want to speak to people then? So just to keep them busy, or to keep you on a roll that you've got this public persona now, and now we can communicate? Nope. You have to have defined structure in this. So strong communication makes stronger compliance. So the practical implementation steps. There's, I think, 5 steps quickly. So firstly, identify communication obligations. So what do the stakeholders want? The contract. What kind of communication do you have to have there? Your regulations. What kind of identify the applicable legal and regulatory communication requirements? Do you have to report on a monthly basis? Yes. Okay. By which date of the month? No, the 2nd of each month. Okay. Show me the report that you did for this month, the previous month, and the previous month. I can do that because we have been doing it. Your stakeholders. How are you having stakeholders meetings? Your policies. One of my clients in Zimbabwe, they've got a brilliant methodology on policies. They've got policy Thursdays. Every Thursday between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, they've got a company-wide open meeting that everybody has to attend. They've got attendance registers electronically, everything there. It's recorded, where they are speaking about the new policies that has been published in this last week. And everybody or every department head who has published a policy that is applicable on everybody gets 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes. Not half an hour, 5 minutes. Just to explain the crux of that policy or that procedure. 5 minutes. Not, I am here now, and now we are looking for an attendance register, and because we have a constraint of time. No, man, come on, you've got 5 minutes. All those other things there, and every time that you are saying, I've got a constraint of time, you have actually lost 30 seconds already. So follow the internal policies and define communication roles, responsibilities, and escalations. And please implement something like that. That is a brilliant best practice that I have seen all over the world. Step 2, define the communication rules. Who can say what and when? So who is authorized to communicate? The roles and responsibilities must be clear, and those things are going back again to clause 5.3, roles and responsibilities. The what can be communicated, and messages are accurate, consistent, and appropriate. You cannot have this week a person that is speaking this 5 minutes, and then next week we've got it from the same department with a different person, and that person is trying to take half an hour because that person has got now the microphone. And the microphone, if people are seeing a microphone or they stand on a podium or they have got the position on the floor, my friends, people are going crazy just to be in the spotlight. And when it can be communicated, timely, relevant, and aligned with business needs. And there has to be clear rules, confident communication, and stronger compliance. But how do you test that? Step 3, on this one here, sorry, just want to give you an example quickly. One of my clients, they are housed in a building that has got, it looks like a box. So it is a 3-4 story building on each side, and then here in the middle they've got an atrium, and this atrium is actually used for public communication, for people to be sitting around there, to wait around there, because this is actually when you get it is one of the mining companies, gold, diamond, etc. So people, if you are in, you are in. You don't get out. So that is a confined space. And the CEO had a meeting with everybody in the building, and he was speaking about safety, because there was a safety incident that was fairly serious. And one of the rules was that when you go up the escalators, that you always have to have a 3-point stability there. You must stand, you must hold on, and etc. And the escalators were behind the CEO's podium. And while he was now addressing everybody in the company, someone was going up the escalator, and this person was on the phone and not holding on anywhere. And he was seeing in the audience in front of him that everybody was now looking at this person there at the back, at the escalator. He turned around and he saw the escalator, and he saw the person there, and everybody went quiet. He gave the instruction to the safety rep to stop the escalators. Get that person down, and if he is an employee, discipline him. If he's a contractor, escort him out. Simple as that. You set the rules and you keep by the rules, and you've got stronger compliance there. Step 3, select appropriate channels. Guys, this is super important. Just want to share you quickly, if I'm looking at this, one of my, sorry, I have a, just want to open this for you quickly. This was, sorry, I had an update on my system, I think 2 days ago, and since then it has been fairly slow. Just want to go to this mind maps. I just want to open for you this one. So this is X-Minds. So please, this is a communication plan that was actually developed in, I think, 2015. There you are, 2015. And this was our understanding of what kind of communication tools do we have in the company. You can see it's a fairly, sorry, it's not on the system as yet. I'm going to just to go on with the presentation while this is opening. So appropriate channels. I will get back to this with the X-Mind. Go and check, what do you have? In this university, they've got a radio station that is speaking to all 9 provinces. We were talking on that thing. We were having hotlines. We were having email campaigns. What is the channels that you can talk about and that you can utilize in your environment? And firstly, look at the security and the urgency and the audience. Who's got access to that? What do you need to have in case of emergencies, like emails, SMS, WhatsApp alerts, announcements, a PA system? What do you have there? And the security there. Use secure channels for sensitive or confidential information. Implement and record. So evidence matters more than perfection. We don't want a perfect system, really. You can have a perfect system if you want to. It's not a problem. If you present it, fantastic. But give us, how did you act there? Secondly, what is the evidence? What is the evidence? I can tell you in my business, every marketing campaign that I'm sending out, I've got a performance dashboard. I can tell you how many people was reached, how many opened, what is the percentage there, what is happening there. I need to know that because I need to know how can I improve it. How can I do better business? And then log the proofing of audits. So store your logs to demonstrate compliance and traceability. And I can go back now to my system and I can tell you since 2014, what did we do? Since 2014, 12 years, I've got all that data there. So you need to be able to be doing these things. And then step 5, review and improve. Review the incidents, review the feedback, review the audit results. What are you getting out of these things and how do you continuously improve? And guys, this is going back again to, we are talking about clause 10.2 that we will address later on. But 10.2 is continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. You need to always be looking at how can I improve tomorrow? How can I improve today that we've got a better space tomorrow? And then clause 7.4 in an integrated management system. So integrated management system is making this super easy, really, because all the requirements, everything on every standard is exactly the same for awareness, for communication, for resources. It is just the content that is different and the approach. So whether it is ISO 27001, 22301, 37301, it doesn't matter. You need to be consistent, efficient, compliant, visible, and you need to create confidence. So the strategic value of clause 7.4. So when implemented properly, clause 7.4 gives you, reduces the miscommunication risk. Definitely. Everybody knows what to do when. Secondly, improves stakeholder trust. Thirdly, strengthens governance. Fourth is enhances audit confidence. How? Whereas auditors just want to, really, to be honest with you, if I'm going into a company, I want to give them certification. But then you need to give me the evidence. If you cannot give me the evidence, my 100% for you for certification is then dropping to 99, 98, 97, 96. And as we are going along, it is either dropping or affirming and confirming it and supporting crisis management. Crisis management. Crisis management is always testing people to the limit. I hate crises, really. And therefore, I plan for crises. If something is happening that creates a crisis, people need to know what to do when and who needs to do what. That I can create, out of this crisis chaos, I can create structure. And this is scientific management. This is what we're talking about. In mature organizations, communication is treated as a control mechanism, not a soft skill. So I just want to see if I open that thing. There we are. So this is the communication plan that we designed. Now, if you look at this has got a roadshow, infographics, toolkits, focus weeks, hotlines. This is all the channels that we're talking about. How do you reach your people? And each one of them, you can see there, this is who's responsible. What is the due date? As you can see there, 2015. Proof, evidence. What is the evidence there? Who is our audience? There is our audience and target group. What is the message? And what is the objective? So each one of these, you can go and open it, has got exactly the same exactly the same process and exactly who is going to be doing what. And you can see this one is a fairly big one. This was a focus week that we were planning for there. So each one of them, whether you've got WhatsApps, whether you've got webinars, whether you've got everything that you've got, this is for you a blueprint. So make sure that if I'm talking about all of these things of communications, I've done it, really. I've done it practically. I've done it for other companies. I have consulted on it. I've audited it. So what we are doing here is not something that I have sat here on my veranda and I have thought, I can make this now difficult for this company. No, it's not about that. I've done it. I've walked the walk. So closing thought. Clause 7.4 quietly enforces a powerful governance truth. That firstly, silence is a decision. Yeah. Silence is consent. So silence is a decision, and so is every message you send. ISO does not ask to communicate more. It asks to communicate deliberately and intentionally. And governance is not just what you do, it is also what you say and what you choose not to say. On this point here, some of you know, and yeah, some of you know that that I was in the police service, and as a station commissioner and high-ranking officer, every year when there's something in Parliament that is actually having the state of the nation, etc., we were nailed in front of the TV because what the minister or what the president is saying there, that will be our instruction tomorrow. So before that instruction is coming out officially via all the emails and those kind of things, you are actually already implementing it. So governance is not just what you do, it is what you say and what you choose not to say. So if there's any questions, this is the end of my story today. So if there's any questions, please let me know, and then we can talk about it. Anybody? Anybody with questions? No one. Ay. Okay. Then I can take that as a good reply. But otherwise, people, you've got my email address. I'm just going to go back there again. You've got my email address. You've got my cell phone number. There it is. You can get in contact with us. So please do. And we are gladly answering your questions. So guys, thanks a lot. Have a super Thursday further. And we will see you next time in 2 weeks. Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.